Started. This is the special meeting for the Springfield Township Bethlehem Pike Safety Corridor presentation. Do some introductions here. My name is Nick Carva. I'm a consultant with PennDOT, and I have Brian Williams with me. And here we have Vince Serbone.
Hi, Vince Serbone, PennDOT Traffic Safety Manager for District 6. And I've also got one of my staff here.
Hello, everybody. I am Joe Zapata, out of District 6, traffic engineer and overseeing Montgomery County.
Thanks, Joe. All right, so we're here today to introduce the Highway Safety Improvement Project that was awarded for your township and on Bethlehem Pike. An HSIP, which is short for Highway Safety Improvement Program, is a project that is awarded using federal dollars. It's a competitive fund so that we have to compete for this money in the district. We have to compete against every district across the state. Our district puts in about $50 million worth of applications every 3 years. And this round, there were only 4 projects that were approved to our state, our district. And unfortunately, we didn't get as much as we always ask for. So this was awarded with 4 other projects. And we're lucky that we get these projects approved for crash locations. So the HSIP program has to have the funding approved for crashes that are crash cluster areas and meet certain criteria to be able to get the funding. And Bethlehem Pike met that criteria. And we're happy to work with the municipality. Your municipality is great. They have their own master plan. I guess you guys call it a comprehensive plan for your township, and that's great. Not all municipalities have that. As part of that comprehensive plan, the municipality was looking to do a road diet along this corridor. And as part of the Delaware Valley Planning Commission, or DVRPC, they did a study in 2008 that also showed the benefits of doing a road diet along this corridor through Erdenheim. So we're happy that it was awarded, and we're going to have a safe project that goes through on Bethlehem Pike, and it will make it safer for all modes of transportation. And Nick and Brian are going to do the presentation. If you can hold your questions till the end, we would appreciate that. All right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick.
No, thank you, Vince. That was great. All right, I'm just going to give the outline of today's meeting and the topics. Obviously, we went through the introductions. I was going to give a brief description of the project, some of the existing condition information that will be useful, a little bit of crash history, and then some road diet benefit facts. And we're going to show you the proposed road diet and parking sketch plan that you can for this corridor. And then at the end, we'll have some Q&A session. So the description: PennDOT's Highway Safety Improvement Program, as Vince indicated, includes safety treatments on Bethlehem Pike from in Springfield Township from Paper Mill Road to Sunnybrook Road. These are some of the bullet point improvements that we're going to be converting Bethlehem Pike from a 4-section roadway to a 3-lane, which includes center turn lane. We'll be modifying left turn phasing signals to a flashing yellow, similar to the one you have over here. We'll be coordinating the arterial traffic signals. We'll be adding pedestrian countdown timers and also adding retroreflective back plates to improve signal visibility. And as Vince indicated, the HSIP funding, federal funding, can only be used for safety improvements for multimodal type of work. You can't make it to put benches or, things like that. It's really for things to improve, reduce crashes for all modes. So here's some of the existing conditions. So as you know, the road speed limit is 35 miles per hour. And many of you, your residents, I don't know what your speed limits are or what folks are driving, but that's one of the safety benefits for a road diet. It keeps a consistent speed throughout the corridor. The project limits is just a little under 2 miles. The average daily traffic for this year is just under 15,000 ADT. It's a 4-lane section, and currently you do not have any left turn lanes. Now, why is that important? Because the inside lane right now acts as a de facto left turn lane. If you want to make a left, your inside through lane becomes the de facto left turn lane. So why not make it a single lane and make that center turn lane be your left turn lane? That's the intent of the road diet. Here's the crash history. This crash data was collected last year, so that's why it's slightly dated. But from 2016 to 2020, and I've listed some of the major crash types here. There's other smaller ones, but the majority of them are 45% are, well, from that range, from that time period, we have 140 reportable crashes. And of that, 45% are angle crashes and 18% are rear end crashes. And then we have hit fix objects, head on, and then pedestrian.
If I can, so just to give you a sense of what a reportable crash and a non-reportable crash are. So this is 140 reportable crashes. The non-reportable crashes you're not seeing, but they're there. And the difference is a reportable crash is where a vehicle has to be towed or there's injury in the crash. The police have to report that to the Pennsylvania State crash data system. And then non-reportable crash is where there's a crash and there's no injury and the vehicles are able to drive away. So we don't have that included. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Vince. That's a very important point. So this slide's a little wordy, but I'll get through it. So road diet can improve safety. It improves safety. It's a traffic calming measure, and it provides better mobility and access to all road users. And it also enhances the quality of life by reallocating of the existing lanes. Some of the benefits are, the benefits of road diets are reducing a rear end and left turn crashes due to dedicated left turn lane now you have. Reducing angle crashes at unsignalized intersections. So if you're on a side street at unsignalized, you have less lanes to cross over to make left turns. You have fewer lanes for pedestrians to cross just by math. You don't have 4 lanes to cross, you have 3 lanes to cross. So, and also your center turn lane is more of a refuge for your pedestrian, for anybody that's jaywalking. So, if someone decides to jaywalk, you have that center median area that it gives you a little bit more safety versus crossing 4 lanes of traffic where there's no cover. It's a traffic calming measure, and it provides more consistent speed. So no one's going to speed. You're going to go as fast as the person in front of you. So it's a more community focused, complete street environment for better accommodation needs for all users. And the most important, it's part of your township comprehensive plan. Springfield Township has incorporated the road diet. It's been approved by your commissioners. It's part of the vision for your township. So here's some federal facts. So road diets have shown going from a 4-lane to a 3-lane has reduced traffic crashes from 19 to 47%. And as Vince indicated, we've seen higher numbers in the state of Pennsylvania. And here's a typical kind of a sketch showing you what the road diet looked pre-road diet on the before on the left slide. You see, this is what your Bethlehem Township pretty much looks like. If you have parking, obviously. And then with the road diet, there's your center turn lane. And I have put a note on there that road diets tend to work really well when the ADT, the average daily traffic, is below 20,000. PennDOT has utilized road diets 17,500.
District 6, because we have District 6 consists of the city of Philadelphia, Bucks, Montgomery, Chester, and Delaware counties. So obviously we have biggest population and most traffic in the state. So we won't do a road diet above 17,000, 18,000.
And it has been done at higher ADTs, but we try to stay below the 20,000. And yep. And your road has 14,750. And we ran the future growth rate. Typically, when you do any sort of design work, you look at 20 south growth rate. And we're seeing a growth rate of the volume's going to be about a little over 1,000 more at 15,800. That's the estimated growth rate. Here's just a sample photo of a before and after of a road diet. We picked this one because, can't find always the best picture that complements your area, but this is something similar that you may be used to seeing on the before picture. And this is what you're going to see after. This is a sketch that shows just mathematically how crashes are reduced. You could see the sketch on the left side on the 4-lane undivided. The white spots represent the chances of being hit. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have 6 crash points, the chances of being in a crash. With the 3-lane, it gets significantly reduced to half. You only have three crash points, conflict points. And this is kind of an important slide. And as you may know, if you want to make a left turn at an unsignalized location, there's a hidden car that you can't see sometimes when the car wants to make a left turn, because the inside lane driver and the opposing lane could be blocking the outside lane. So with the road diet, you don't have that issue. So this is one reason why angle crashes are significantly reduced with the road diet.
I'd like to add something with that.
Yep.
It's also the case with pedestrians. So if a pedestrian is coming out and you have the 4 lanes, the pedestrian may be coming out and that driver in the through lane sees them, but the driver that's in the passing lane doesn't. And we obviously that'll reduce those types of crashes as well.
Yeah, and a lot of times this driver right here will sometimes stop to give a courtesy gap for this driver to make a left. But what happens, this car goes straight. I mean, that we've seen that quite a bit in the district. So that can be eliminated. Here's 2 locations that we have implemented road diet. There's more, but the one on top, Glen Olden Ave, this happened. I specifically picked this slide because we have a lot of data on it. So they implemented a road diet from 2006. We collected 5 years of crashes pre-road diet from 2006 to 2011. And then the road diet went in from 2012. And we collected, road diet went in 2012. And so we collected data from 2012 to 2017. So we saw a 20% reduction in crashes on that corridor in Glen Olden, while the volume of traffic increased. So while you had increase in traffic, the reduction of crashes happened. And there were 2 fatals before the road diet, and there's been zero fatals since this data was collected. The bottom slide is more of a hybrid road diet where we had extra width shoulders, and we actually added a center 2-way left turn lane. This project was completed in 2018. We don't have as long time frame for the data, but the two-year prior to the road diet, we collected crash information, and then 2 years after, we saw a 35% reduction in crashes. And there were 2 fatals in that 2 years prior. and no fatalities afterward. And we saw a reduction in crash severities as well. And we, it's glad to hear that your township already has a flashing yellow, but folks that are not familiar with it, Brian is going to give a little explanation on that.
Yeah, so as Nick indicated, along with the road diet, we'll be installing improvements at the traffic signals. And with that, where we have left turn phases or where there's existing like green arrows right now, those signals will replace with these flashing yellow arrow signals, which is what you would see down at Cheltenham Avenue, the next signal down, that has a flashing yellow arrow signal. And these signals operate similar to what you know today, but they provide safety benefits with that, and that they do provide like the signals you know today. They'll give you a green arrow indication when you have the right of way to turn left. Once that green arrow goes away, they'll go to a flashing yellow arrow, and you can still turn left during the flashing yellow arrow, but what it's telling you is that you have to yield to oncoming traffic. Instead of like the normal signals now, once that green arrow goes away, it goes normally to a green ball. And you're supposed to know you have to yield to oncoming traffic on that. But sometimes that can be confusing. So the flashing yellow arrow really drives home that you can turn left now, but you have to yield to oncoming traffic. So this has been shown to increase safety with these left turn movements.
Thanks, Brian. And it has shown a 20% reduction in left turn crashes, and is being adopted throughout the country and other states as well. You're going to see more of this. Yeah. So this table right here kind of shows you the level of service. It's more of we call it a capacity analysis. How is the road going to function after the road diet? And people realize, they think, oh my God, you're taking a lane away. Well, we call it capacity, the saturation flow, how much volume flows through the road. Think about like water through a pipe. The flow is mid-block, meaning between the intersection, is pretty consistent. Your actual level of service is really based at a road diet, is really based at the signals. So if we can make sure the signals are operating properly, you shouldn't have as much issues with the flow of traffic throughout this corridor. So here's the corridor from on the bottom from Montgomery Ave all the way up to Flowertown Shopping Center. We have the morning peak hour commuter, and we have the evening PM peak hour. So this is the highest volume time of day where the traffic is the highest. And this is what typically traffic engineers do, is we analyze the worst case scenario. And the first column, the reason we're using 2041 is because the road diet, that's the lifespan. We always look 20 years out. When PennDOT builds a bridge or roads, we always try to make sure look at 20 years out how it's going to function in its full lifespan. So you're seeing level of service. Level of service means how is the signal operating? It's kind of a grade you're giving to the intersection. A means good and F is bad. So you see A's and B's and C's. The delay is what's the typical average wait time. So the delay is what gives you the letter grade. And if you look at with and without the road diet, if you look at the rows over, you can see that there is some degradation in the level of service and the delay. And that's the compromise with the road diet. You're trying to help all users. We're not sugarcoating this. You're going to see a little bit of delay at the intersections, but it is going to be a safer road. It's going to be safer for the pedestrians. The challenging one is that the one at College and Beischer, we're seeing a D there. Like I said, I'm not sugarcoating this, but it's a very, I don't have to tell you that, making left turns there or coming out of it, kind of coming out of the Starbucks or going in, it's going to be a safer operation. All right, with that said, Brian is actually going to go into the sketch of the corridor. We have a sketch, and we're going to zoom down to looking at the intersections and going through the road diet.
And I just want to mention, this is a draft. It's not the final plan. They're not showing all the legends and things that are going to be added to this, in this plan.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's gonna be a lot of paint and striping, we call it legends, where you write words on the road, slow and curve and things that actually help with this project. So,
35-mile-per-hour legends at all speed limit signs. There's a school. Forgive me, I forget the name of it. Okay, so there's going to be school zone legends there. Also the crosswalks, all the high visibility crosswalks. The sign. The other thing you're not seeing is the sign with this. So.
yeah.
All right, so I'll just walk you through the corridor. We're gonna start on the southern end, down at Paper Mill Road, Stanton Avenue. The signalized intersection here, right now, we have 2 lanes northbound continue through this intersection and 2 lanes southbound. Just north of the intersection is where we're going to start this road diet concept. So north of the intersection, we're going to have lane transition arrows and signage to close one of the lanes to get the traffic to merge down into one lane. And then in the southbound direction, somewhere in this area, we'll be opening up from a 1-lane direction to 2 lanes to head southbound at Paper Mill Road. Continuing on north, where we get into Bells Mill Road, Hillcrest Avenue area, this is the area where the road diet is actually starting here. So here we see this, the yellow in between here, this would be a center left turn lane. So you'll be able to make left turns northbound and southbound in this area. The black line would be like the white line. So between the yellow and the black, this will be your northbound lane here, and this will be your southbound lane here. And in this area, this center left turn lane is centered in the roadway right where it is now. And then we have shoulder area on both sides. Continuing on north. Also, because of this road diet, right now there's parking allowed in some areas of this corridor off peak hours. So during the peak hours, you're not allowed to park, but off peak, you're allowed to park in the outside lane. With this road diet concept, because we're switching the lanes around, parking will not be on both sides. It's going to be one side or the other side, but it will be allowed throughout the day. It will be no more peak hour prohibitions. It'll be a full 24-hour parking. So on this slide where we show the purple is areas where we can provide the parking. We don't have exact parking space delineated yet. This is just area where we can provide parking, and just to indicate what side of the road it was. So the purple is the side of the road that we provide in parking. And it does switch from the east to the west, depending on the concept for the road diet and where we have other lanes. So in Gordon Road to Montgomery Ave, we would have parking on the west side of the intersection. And then Montgomery Avenue, this is right now we'll be providing with the road diet concept, we'll be providing a southbound dedicated left turn lane. And then also right now there's no left turn phase at this intersection. We'll be adding a southbound left turn phase with the flashing yellow arrow signal. And then with this road diet, because we are narrowing the width of the actual travel way, we're able to reduce the amount of time pedestrians are exposed to vehicles crossing. So before pedestrians would have to cross curb to curb and there could be traffic coming through there. But now, because we have a road diet and because this side is now parked cars full time, the actual crossing distance for these signalized intersections will be reduced.
Brian, can you talk about compound stuff?
Yes, we, along with the other signal improvements here, we'll be adding a PED countdown timers. So the man and the hand signals, and then it'll count down to give you an indication of how much time you have to cross. We'll also be providing, as Nick indicated, the retroreflective back plates. So it's the black back plates black backplates with the yellow borders around them to increase the signal visibilities.
Yeah, both these countermeasures, the back plates as well as the countdown. So it's not a guessing game, you know, it's flashing. Now it's going to tell you you have 10 seconds, 9 seconds. So it lets
That's what
the,
counts down. Lets you know where you're at in the intersection, how much time you have to get a close before you signal.
have been proven measures to reduce of crashes or accidents.
So north of Montgomery Avenue is where we'll be transitioning the road diet from the east side to the west, and then the parking will now be on the east side of the roadway. So we have the southbound lane here, the center left turn lane, and northbound lane here. So continuing on through, from Yerkle and Glen Circle, we still have the parking on the eastern side. And then continuing on through, keeping the parking on the eastern side through this section. Sorry. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now? All right. All right. So as I was saying, we have the parking on the east side here, northbound, southbound through lanes, and the center left turn lane. And then when we get to Hawes Lane, here we're going to upgrade the signal here as well. The same types of improvements before. Right now, there's a southbound left turn phase right now with the 5-section arrow. We'll be upgrading that to the flashing yellow arrow signal. You'll have a dedicated southbound left turn lane for left turns. As before, we'll have the countdown pedestrian signals, the retro reflective back plates, all those types of improvements. They'll be occurring at this intersection as well. North of the intersection, we'll keep parking on the east side for a short section, and then after and around the area of Rose Lane, we'll be transitioning the road diet back from the west side to the east side, so the parking will transition over here to the west side. Continuing north, parking's on the west side up until we get to the Wissahickon Avenue signal. We'll zoom in here a little bit closer. Wissahickon Avenue, on our traffic counts, we determined, or we saw that there was a large amount of southbound right turns coming from Bethlehem Pike to get on the Wissahickon Avenue. So we're going to be providing a dedicated southbound right turn lane, as well as a dedicated southbound left turn lane at this intersection. And then we will also have a dedicated northbound left turn lane. And then this intersection has a northbound left turn phase. We'll be keeping that left turn phase, providing the flashing yellow arrow signal as well. And like the other improvements, we'll be providing the countdown pedestrian timers and the retro reflective backplates. So continuing on north of Wissahickon, we'll have the parking on the west side up until we get to the College and Bayshore Avenue intersection. So this intersection, these two intersections operate as one signal. What's what we call split phasing. So one side would go and the other side would go. We'll be keeping that split phasing, but we're also going to be adding the left turn phases for Bethlehem Pike. So there'll be a northbound left turn phase and a southbound left turn phase. These will be the signals where you'll get a green arrow, a yellow arrow, and a red arrow. You can only make a left turn when you have the green arrow. There will be no permitted or flashing yellow arrows at this location. The reason for that being, with the road diet, these left turns will share the same space, in that a vehicle traveling northbound would be in this area to turn left. A vehicle traveling southbound would be in this area to turn left, so they can't turn left at the same time. So we're giving them what we call a protected left turn phase. They'll get the green arrow to turn left. We will also be looking at what we call a leading pedestrian interval, where it's really giving the pedestrians 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 seconds of lead time to get into the intersection before through traffic goes. So like when the side street by Shore or College Avenue goes, the pedestrians have a couple seconds to get in the crosswalk before the green for the side street, so that drivers will see the pedestrians in the crosswalks and know to yield to them. So we're looking at possibly implementing that as well.
Yeah, and as Vince indicated, this is still in draft sketch, and we're looking to shorten that crosswalk width too. As the township has indicated, that's a heavily used crosswalk, and I think that that'll make it a little bit more safer.
So continuing north of College, we'll keeping the parking on the west side. Oops. Sorry about that. Parking on the west side. And at Grove Avenue, this is where the road diet is going to transition again back to the west side with parking on the east. So we'll have parking on the east side between Wise and Flowertown Plaza. Well, we won't. This is just a concepts plan. We wouldn't have parking in front of driveways or anything like that. This is just showing where parking could go.
Yeah, what we said earlier is this is the area, so we'll find out exactly where you can park. I understand there's a driveway there, but that's the area we're looking. Yep.
Yeah, I actually have some concern when I see this. Well, it also shows that the paint goes through the intersections for the center turn lane. Nick showed a picture earlier of what that'll look like. There'll actually be dotted paint that goes through so that there's an intersection there. So that's why I kind of said this is just a draft plan. We haven't. I don't want you guys to think that we don't do this normal.
Okay.
And then getting to Mill Road, our traffic count showed there's a lot of northbound right turns at this location. So we're going to provide a dedicated northbound right turn lane for Mill Road, along with a dedicated northbound left and the southbound left turn lane. We'll be providing, there is a left turn phase at this location as well. So we'll be providing the flashing yellow arrow signal, along with the pedestrian countdown timers and the retroflective back plates, all those improvements as well. I believe right now it's just a southbound left turn phase, and that's what we would be providing.
That's up here in the municipality.
So continuing on north of Mill Road, we do show a short segment of the parking, whether it's actually there or not, is to be determined. Continuing north, we get to the Flower Town Shopping Center. Right now, there's a left turn lane and 2 through lanes, both northbound and southbound. Northbound, we'll be providing the northbound left turn lane. We will be providing the northbound right turn lane and a southbound left turn lane in this location. Right now, there is a northbound left turn protected only phase. So it's a green arrow only, no flashing yellow or anything like that. That would be staying. So continuing on north of Flowertown Road, that's where the 2 lanes currently transition down to 1 lane northbound, and then southbound, they would open up to 2 lanes. We would keep these single northbound and southbound through lanes and tie back into the existing 3-lane cross section. And just continuing on through. And then this would tie back in just south of the Valley Green Road signal.
And this whole limit will be repaved, so you have to do the repaving for the road diet to happen. So.
The road needs to be paved. We know, absolutely. Yes, so the project itself, we looked at when we go for HSIP projects, like I said, it's a competitive fund and we have to meet criteria. And the Springfield Township, with their comprehensive plan, the DVRPC plan, and the crashes, this was on what we call a highway safety network. It's a statewide look at crashes across the state with like roads. And this corridor met that HSNS. So it met all the criteria to be able to get the funding. And unfortunately, we did get the funding to do this. So I'm going to leave that up to open up the questions and
Just before everybody.
go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Doing this on a broadcast. Now, I just want to let everybody know that we're doing this on a Zoom. So in order to make a comment, we need you to address, I guess, the speakers with the microphone. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to be heard at home. They're going to have to repeat the question in order to answer your question. So we have a microphone up here. We'll set it up. And if you want to just come down and address the speakers, we can allow that. Oh, and one other thing, there's a couple of people on the Zoom who have raised their hand. We don't accept comments remotely. We're only taking comments in person.
And I forgot, I apologize, but we do have some comment forms over there, and maybe Melissa or Dan, if anybody needs some comment forms, you raise your hand, they can go and we have some pens, we can give them to you. If you can leave the forms there on your way out, then we'll collect those comment forms if you don't want to make a comment right now.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. So you gentlemen are the representatives of the township?
So I'm the township manager. This is our public works director.
Okay.
And there's a couple of commissioners in the audience as well.
So my first question is, during the presentation, I thought I heard words to say this has already been approved. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think what the gentleman referenced was this is included in the township's comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2014.
So it's been approved.
A comprehensive plan is an aspirational plan, something that helps guide your efforts going forward. That this particular road diet concept was also included in a document called the Flowertown-Erdenheim Vision Plan that was, I guess, developed in the late 90s, early 2000s, 2009.
Right.
The road diet, they can talk about the timing. It's a PennDOT project at this point.
So we're looking to have the project let early next year, spring. So probably construction soon after, and it'd probably be, since it's going to be mid next year, it'll be a 1.5-year construction cycle. So completed by the end of 2024, starting spring 2023, end of 2024.
So I guess my major concern, and it would have been helpful for your presentation, you made reference to the different accidents. It would have been useful to know, based upon the type of traffic and pedestrian traffic and automobile and bicycle and everything, comparative to other roads with those numbers, how does this go? Also, our property is at the end of Bethlehem Pike where the very bad curve is. And from our little piece of the world, it seems to us that most of the really bad accidents happen there, but I don't have the data that you guys do. So it would have been useful to indicate on the 2-mile corridor where most of the accidents are. Final comment is, I don't know if you want to go back to, slide it back to the beginning of where you're proposing the corridor. I don't see a whole lot of change there to try and prevent some particularly nasty accidents that we've seen over the last 30 years. I mean, it's at the point the police come to us for our video off our buildings every time there's an accident. We run out with fire extinguishers. We've done CPR on people. These are some pretty significant accidents. Depending how you measure it, yeah, there haven't been any in 5 minutes or 2 years or whatever, but if you look at it over 30 years, the property's been in my family since the 50s. There was talk back then of straightening Bethlehem Pike, but that obviously never happened. So if you can zoom in, you'll see the area that I'm referring to. I'd like your comments about what you feel would help reduce some of the really bad problems we've had down there, with the exception of there being one road. The final comment, and I'll hand it over to somebody else, is, when a bus stops in the right lane, nobody's going to move except people will jump into the left lane and try and go around. And I think that's going to add to the congestion. We've been in areas where this has been adopted in other states and other areas. And personally, it's caused us to not shop in those areas and avoid them because it just has become at times almost impassable. So that's my statement. But if you could just look at the curve part and tell us what improvements you've put there to try and make it safer. Was it Gordon? Yeah. Right. Right now, there's flashing lights. They've been there for a long time.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, one of the benefits of the road diet is it's gonna make the speed steady. You're not gonna have that speeding problem. So that will prevent some of the runoff road. We're also we're still working with the township. We're gonna put high friction surface treatment. So it's a very it's a type of aggregate. We only use it at very slippery, wet, runoff road type of curve related.
Well,
We've
once upon a
been
time-
using this technique throughout the district, and it has almost the state. It's done wonders. I don't know what kind of stats you want to give on that, but we would look at potentially putting it around that curve.
But are you doing a lot of this project basically to try and remedy this small area? That's where seeing where the accidents would have been helpful.
The project is to look at the entire corridor. It's not just to look at one location, it's to look at all of them,
But the
to
total,
remedy the
it's
crashes.
2
So your
miles.
question was, do we look at the crashes just at one location or the whole corridor? We don't have I don't believe we have the crash plot here
Yeah.
today.
And
but to
my
answer your
statement
question,
was, it would have
we
been
do look
useful to see where the accidents were on your
Right,
presentation.
and we did do that, right? So we looked at, it's called a crash plot.
Right,
So we plot out all the crashes along the corridor and look at those. And that's how we come up with what kind of countermeasures we need to do at each intersection, as well as the volumes and turning movements. So at Gordon Lane, we're going to install high friction surface treatment. It's a bauxite aggregate. It is a very expensive product that we've used now statewide. And the reduction in curve related crashes, regardless of what kind of crash it is in the curve, we've reduced anywhere from 55 to 75% on
okay.
curve related crashes.
Well, I promise to let other people talk.
So-
I just think your total numbers are very small. So the percentages really mean nothing when you're talking about 2 incidents or 6 incidents over 10 years or so, but go ahead.
I live there too, so I know what he's saying. They use that like a raceway,
Right.
Come around that car and go right into the lumberyard.
Yeah, the road diet will help that. We'll keep
But
it a little
I didn't
slow
want
at
to
the
talk
same
about
time.
that curve. I want to talk about College because my shop is on the east side. And I noticed you put parking on the west where they have rear parking available, and I don't have rear parking. So I'm just wondering if that's flexible because I'm going to lose that space. I have brand new moms coming with infants,
Yeah.
and they're not going to be able to park over there and cross easily, I don't think.
That's something. Parking is municipality issue, so it would be up to them whether we, where
Who
we have
should
the
I
parking.
address that with?
Yeah.
then?
I would leave a comment.
Yeah.
And then we can get back to PennDOT with that.
Okay,
And
wonderful.
then one other thing, Nick, do you want to talk about the overhead flasher at that curve that we talked about? That was something we had discussed as well to try and make it a little bit more visible down there.
Yeah, at Gordon Ave, we're still working with the township, and there's currently a flasher on a post on the side. We're looking at putting on an overhead mast arm as an option. We're still working with the township on that as well. So there are other treatments, like I said, where we're not, there's all these little things that we haven't, not little, I wouldn't say, but like extra paint, legends, improvements, flashers, and if the township is in agreement, we looking at putting the variable speed display signs at some key locations as well.
It's just the area where we're going, I'm sorry. It's just the area where between the municipality and us, we decided that they would be parking areas, not necessarily where each parking space is going to be. It also, Brian had mentioned that it's going to be go to 24-hour parking for that, as right now you've got to, you're in the peak hour, you can't park there. So that is true, but it would be up to the municipality if there's any kind of regulations on that parking, whether it's 2-hour parking, those kinds of things. The municipality will decide those kinds of things after the project's over.
Following on the last woman's comments, just to get in, I guess, two questions. One is how do you determine what side to put parking as you're kind of making these changes? And then two, how much time is there for input from the community until the plan is finalized? And I assume when would that then be, would it then be presented as well when it's been finalized?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I can answer part of that. So as part of your comp plan, there is a vision of where they want the parking to stay. So we try to kind of mimic that as best as possible. The other part is, as you notice, we're creating left turn lanes and right turn lanes. So because of that, those reasons, we have to shift the traffic over. But it's a combination. Want to add anything else?
No, I think does that kind of answer your question? Time frame, right? So we're in the design phase right now. We're hoping to let this for construction to begin the early spring. So in order to do that, we would have to put the bids out and have all of that go through by the fall of 2022.
He's asking, when can their input?
When can their input, right? So I'm getting to that, right? So I just worked back from when construction will start. So the design phase, we're gonna have to have that design completed and ready to go by, I would say, August of this year at the latest. We can still make those slight changes all the way up to that point. Let's put it that way. I would hope to have that all under sooner than that. I would hope that we could have that resolved. So.
Yeah, and we haven't officially submitted the plans to the township. We provided them as a cursory to give us some feedback, and we're going to be doing that fairly shortly after tonight's meeting.
Hi, good evening. My question is in regard to the area between Paper Mill and you have a relatively steep downhill going through the intersection there. A lot of accidents already happening, and then you have the merging into the diet. And at the same time, you have people coming from Bell's Mill onto Bethlehem Pike, making left-hand turns. So I guess the combination of speed of people trying to merge that other people coming out of Bell's Mill also trying to make a left-hand turn at the same time. So I guess the question is, have you taken that into consideration, and what additional safety measures are made to address that?
Yeah, I mean, the transitioning to in and out of the road diet is always tough, especially, close to a signal. And
Signal, but also it's a downhill, right? So people are coming relatively steep.
yeah,
They're speeding to make the light at the intersection. And then they're also trying, while they're going fast to make that light, they're trying to merge in. At the same time, people might be making that left from Bell's Mill onto Bethlehem Pike. So if that hasn't been taken into consideration or factored, I'd request that you take an additional look at it.
Right. So Good.
No.
So we've taken in, once again, this is a draft plan.
Sure, yeah, I understand.
So we are looking right now, not only at Bell's Mill, but at,
Paper
we don't
mill?
have the names of the streets here. I'm gonna walk up to the screen if you don't
Sure.
mind. So this is a one-way street coming this way.
Mhm.
The name of it is Hillcrest. Thank you. I apologize. So we're looking at right now, and once again, draft, we're not
Mhm.
there yet. But we are looking at taking that median and slithering a little bit of that off, putting in a different type of concrete median so that we could fit a left turn lane in there, so that they have a left turn for that. And then.
So
what we
there's
can-
I'm sorry to interrupt. Left-hand turn, again, people are
Yep.
coming, speeding through.
Right,
Going to be people turning
Right.
left and there's no light at that
right. So
intersection.
that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
What's happening right now is they're sitting in that passing lane, having to cross over 2 lanes as it is existing.
Is there a left-hand turn is allowed? I wasn't sure if
We're,
that
we're
was.
going to try to fit it. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
We haven't
so
gotten
there's
there
not a
yet.
left-hand turn now, but you're going to add a left-hand?
It is, they're, right now they have to turn left like everywhere else through the corridor in the passing.
Well, again,
Yeah.
but they're crossing
becomes a
speeding
de facto
cars, trying to
left turn.
doing a merge.
So we're gonna get them out of, through movement.
Mhm.
And then what we can do is once we get that resolved, then we can look at moving that transition back some. And we'll do that. So
Okay.
once we get that resolved, we can and will look at moving the transition back.
Yeah.
But before we do that, we have to look at the left turn lane.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's just a draft plan once again.
Yeah, so what that means transitioning back mean that it'll be a single lane at that point of that crossing and you won't have to worry about 2 lanes.
Yeah, at Stanton, right. So the gentleman's question was, can explain moving the transition back? And that is that the transition from 2 lanes down to 1 lane. So moving that back towards Paper Mill Stanton. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, hi. I've had the opportunity for many years going to work to use an area that was changed like this. And there's some real downsides. It added about 30% travel time. And as the price of gas goes up, more travel time, more gas for those of us who don't have EVs. Something to be aware of. The other thing is people got very frustrated. And as the person who mentioned about the bus backing up traffic, they tended to use the turn lanes as ways of passing all the other traffic. And the driving got worse and worse. Instead of having fewer accidents, it seemed to exacerbate really bad driving because it was very frustrating to the people who were using that. So I would say maybe you want to reconsider, rethink this, and look at the other side of the coin.
Since I've worked on this project since 2009, and all of a sudden I found out about a week ago that you guys were going to be here. Don't you think it's awful ambitious to say we're going to have it in planning stage and out for bid by August? I mean, this is the first meeting we've had to get public comments. And one of the problems on the Pike has always been parking. And I think as a Realtor, I feel it's going to be very detrimental to a lot of the offices on the Pike and retail. I'm fortunate, I have parking in my facilities, but there's a lot of spots on the Pike where I don't know who made this plan, but it's stupid where you have a lot of the parking, absolutely stupid. You have it in front of the Carson Valley, nobody parks there. Nobody parks there, so it doesn't make any sense to be there. So your parking and the bus are the 2 biggest things, and worry about where the businesses are going to pull their cars from 9 to 5. That's all I have to say. I have 139 pages.
Well, I want to start by saying emphatically, thank you. As a pedestrian who lives on Gordon Lane, and needs to walk my kids to school or to Cisco Park or any place else in this township, it is terrifying and it is deadly. And thank you for putting in this work, for winning this money for this. My main question is, as part of improving the pedestrian biker experience, there's all the other stuff that comes along with this. Some of the renderings showed signage and lighting and benches and all that kind of thing. How does that nest into, how does the township's money, how do we raise that money to make all those things happen, to make the corridor better as well?
Yeah, I think the road diet is a catalyst, it's a starting point, and I think the township can, and
Yeah, and there was ornamental pedestrian lighting added several years ago, sections of the town. They focused on the areas where there's the nucleus of the business, and if there's ever going to be a true downtown area, that's where they were placed, in the Flowertown Village and the Erdenheim Village. Some of the areas that connected to, there just wasn't funding available at the time to do that. And then when a private development will come up, and there's a subject of a land development, the township will certainly encourage the developer to put that type of lighting in, which they did do in some areas as well. So that's part of it. There were also some benches that were added at times. I think you're confusing the Flowertown Erdenheim vision plan, which set kind of the table for this, with the actual Highway Safety Improvement Program grant that PennDOT is implementing at this point. But to Nick's point, the road diet was always kind of the tail that wagged the dog. So
I guess my
coming.
sort of follow-up question to that, there's not a concerted push to do a bunch of things at the same time as this road diet plan.
Not at this time.
Okay, cool.
Hi there. I'm also a Gordon Road resident. So, walkability is really important to me as well. It's actually one of the reasons my husband and I live in this community, because we like that we can walk to a lot of places. That being said, I was wondering if sidewalk widening was part of any of this consideration. I have a brother who's disabled, who's going to be coming to live with us. And not all of the sidewalks are passable with a wheelchair, which is concerning to me. Also, I know there's a bus stop up right around where the paper mill Bethlehem Pike intersection is. And I've seen people walking in the road just to get to the SEPTA bus stop, which is very, very concerning to me. So just something to consider. And then with that, if there's been any thoughts to possibly making that whole paper mill intersection more walker friendly. The Chestnut Hill train station is our closest train station. So my husband and I walk there frequently, and it feels like Frogger sometimes just trying to get across paper mill. So just something to think about. But again, thank you for considering pedestrians. No one loves traffic. I myself don't love traffic, but I also don't want to be hit by a car when I'm walking my dog to Cisco Park. So thank you.
This is property. County.
Yeah, Bethlehem Pike is a state road. Yes.
And so has anything been addressed to the storm water problems they have in that area? Is that part of the plan, fixing that?
Right, so PennDOT is working right now on some storm drainage work that the township could probably talk better about it than I can. I'm in the
Why is
traffic.
it like secret?
No, I'm in the traffic unit, so that
Okay.
our maintenance unit is working with the municipality on what projects are going on. I know that is part of the reason we're trying to move this up. So the question
It's
of
good.
why are you moving this up? Part of that is the reason. So there's some drainage work that's going on. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, it's going on in Gordon now.
I think it's completed south of Gordon, and then
Okay.
there's some.
Here, I'll let you.
Yeah. There's some drainage work that they completed over the winter just south of Gordon, which you probably were familiar with. They had to take a lane out
Yeah, I
temporarily.
saw that.
And there's some additional drainage work that they have to complete once they can get pipe, because there's a pipe shortage right now. up in the Hillcrest Bells Mill area as well. That's one phase of the
Well-
drainage work. And then
I'm talking
As-
about,
I understand where you're going. Let me get there.
Yeah.
So in the Brookside Road neighborhood, we've brought to not this gentleman's attention, but some of the other folks at PennDOT. There's a lot of different branches of PennDOT that the inlets don't function as efficiently as we believe they could, right? They're the curb type inlets that, have a very narrow mouth or opening because of years and layers of asphalt that have gone up. We've encouraged them and we've had some assistance. Rep Nelson's in the room. Raise your hand, Rep Nelson. And he's advocated on our behalf as well to try and consider adding, we'll call them M-top inlets, Ian, which are the ones that sit flush with the road surface so that they would take more water and collect it and convey it off of the roadway. So in those areas where they can't get more reveal on the open mouth inlets, we've encouraged, and they've said that they would listen to us in that regard. Haven't made a commitment yet to add those flat top or M-top inlets in the same areas.
That bottom there, water's coming down Bethlehem Pike, and then it goes back up. So in that, right near that lane there, there's a school drain there. For years I've been trying to get them fixed. And I've contacted you guys about it, you guys are working on it. But it backs up, and it's never been removed, the grate is not been removed. And now one grate's cracked, so they're afraid to remove it because they may not be able to get back in. So I passed by there when it's raining heavily and it's all flooded there. So when you have a major flooding going on, it's just washing out all the houses behind there on both sides. If those storm drains are fixed, it would help that considerably. It seems like no one wants to, one person says the township's responsibility, one person says it's the state's responsibility. It never gets really, never.
Well, I can tell you that it's the state's responsibility. It's the state's storm sewer system. We've been on Bethlehem Pike, along the side streets are ours, but if you're referring to Bethlehem Pike, that would be the state's. And we've brought it to their attention and they've agreed to take a look at it as part of the road resurfacing project. And through the road resurfacing project, they're going to mill away layers of asphalt. And we've asked them to try and consider making that area right in front of those curb style inlets a little bit more pronounced so that it would convey the water off of the roadway. They've made a commitment to take a look at it with us. We've brought it to their attention. They've made the commitment to take a look at it. They haven't committed to it, but they've committed to taking a look at it. I wouldn't characterize it that way.
Why, I don't know. Like, what's it gonna take? Someone to drown in there. I've had tenants in cars being totally demolished. What? And, and then their schools built right up the street, adding even more water to it. So the it keeps going, but no one ever said, hey, let's fix this situation down here. Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about.
You touched on a number of different issues that we can talk about offline with regard to the school and development. Like that doesn't happen nowadays without adequate stormwater management being provided for that particular on-site facility. So that gets addressed. Or is there areas that had no stormwater management or that are contributing to the water runoff in that area? Yeah, probably, just like most of the town when it was developed. It didn't have stormwater management. So now we're trying to make the best of a bad situation going forward. And we're trying to work with PennDOT to get that done. And that's outside of this gentleman's, responsibility. It's been mentioned numerous times.
Everywhere else, again, it's still no box, still no one ever do that. Things like that are the same thing that go into water. Not be able to
Mhm.
There's the issue that I'm concerned about.
No, and we are as well.
the state that's about bike lanes and whether they should consider as part of this. We have a number of kids in the area that ride the bike to swim club, to Wawa, to the movie theater, up and down Bethlehem Pike corridor. And then for the adults, they're using the Bethlehem Pike to make their way over to the drive, all that. So I just didn't know if that was taken into consideration or if there's an opportunity to think about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have limited width, and, it was either parking or bike, so,
In the spirit of safety, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gentlemen, my name is Joanne Cisco Chesky, and I live in the property right next door to Flower Town Fire Company. That is a really, really busy area between the fire company, the swim club in the summer, Wawa across the street. It seems to me, and I think this is not a PennDOT problem so much as it is an enforcement problem of the Springfield police. The speed limit, the people that use Bethlehem Pike trying to get where they're trying to go are really driving fast on Bethlehem Pike. I have a terrible time getting out of my driveway because of the speed. I know it is really hard to cross Bethlehem Pike there. The only crosswalks you have to go a block down to Mill Road or up to College Avenue where there's actually, a button. But I think that's probably an enforcement situation, probably not your problems. But I don't know who would be the one that would take into consideration. Living next to the fire department, my family moved there in 1949, so I've seen a lot of changes on Bethlehem Pike. I remember when there were trolley lines and they took that out. And there were many, many things that were, have been changed there. But when I was a little girl, there were fire police, and when the fire department had to go out and the siren blew, the fire police were there and they would stop traffic. I have my heart in my throat when I hear the siren go off. The other day, in one day, it went off 8 times. 8 times. I don't know if that was the record or not, but when those fire engines go out, and I don't know if there's something that PennDOT can do or whether it's Springfield. Is there anyone here from the Flower Town Fire Department? Is there any way, I know there are places where they have flashing lights when the siren goes off and those engines are trying to pull out, and people are so bad about stopping for the fire engines. I cannot believe that the truck is already pulling out and the cars are going around it. And I'm wondering now with 3 lanes, what is it going to be like if there's going to be turns? Because even the firemen have a hard time sometimes getting in to park their car, jump out, and get on the engine to go out. So I don't know whose responsibility it might be to put a light, and I don't know. I don't know if you guys are interested.
It has been discussed amongst the officers for some years tonight to gather more information. The chief's very well aware of the situation. It's a dangerous business being out there on Bethlehem Pike and additional lighting through this project is something that we have discussed and will continue to discuss with the state and the.
I wanted to bring that up because I worry every single time. My dad was a volunteer fireman. I, lived there so many years and seeing how dangerous it can be. And I don't know whether that was even a consideration into your plan of any kind of signal that would stop, traffic when the engines are trying to get in or get out. Because I know it's a problem.
You're a good neighbor, Joanne. Thank you. They're volunteers. There have been firefighters hit in front of the firefight tent, in front of the firehouse. There was a firefighter killed and Bethlehem Pike at one place many years ago trying to direct traffic. Up to this day, up to tonight, if we go out or tomorrow during the day, absolutely horrendous. The speed, and it's nationwide. The speed that the vehicles travel up and down the Pike specifically, but on the highways, has been detrimental and contributed to many firefighter fatalities in the nation and many injuries. And it's been on our discussion board with the chief of the department for the last several months. And when this came up, it kind of regenerated some thought. Since the highway is a state highway, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we have to get out of permission to get emergency lighting from the state.
It's a permit, so it's a, yeah, it would be the municipal.
On possibly tying in the enunciators on the traffic light, at least the lights are happening. To give us a little bit more leeway. So I was going to discuss it with Mike, fill out a comment, take it back. Yeah, they've been taking out of service and outdated motor vehicles and put them on the highway behind the fire trucks that they hit them. I think last month it was probably nationwide, maybe 6 or 7 fire vehicles. I've been up to 3 or 9, and you're going to be nimble on your feet when you're up there fighting fire. And that's why if you're in traffic and the traffic stops, it's guys like firefighters to stop traffic. But we're hoping a solution can be developed.
Good evening. I agree with speaking, big problem on Bethlehem Pike, and there's not much enforcement. But my big problem, I don't know if you've addressed it, but I live on Hillcrest and Bethlehem Pike, and the traffic that comes, it's coming down and up Bethlehem Pike very fast, and then people trying to turn onto Hillcrest Avenue both ways, and there's accidents all the time. I hope you take that into consideration.
Is that where
Not
the,
sure what.
is that where the,
Let's try to take a look at it.
Right here.
Yeah, that was similar to my question earlier.
I think a lot of the comments are related to speeding and, not be able to pulling out of the side streets or driveways. And as I mentioned in the presentation, that is one of the benefits. If there's not a traffic light and you're at a driveway or an unsignalized intersection, the road diet will help you with that. So, when and if this project, when it goes forward, we like I've shown other locations, the crashes have gone down. So hopefully, there's going to be some benefits like that here as well. Yep.
So I'd like to second Ms. Jones. Thank you for I think it's a great idea. It's not complete and there's some questions. But I can tell you that I drive Bethlehem Pike down into the city, all the way down Stent Avenue, many times for work. And the speed of traffic slows dramatically when you get down the road, Stent Avenue. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but Stent Avenue goes to one lane in each direction. And people just slow down. You can't, like somebody said earlier, you can't go any faster than the person in front of you. When I come up Bethlehem Pike at Gordon Road, where that curve is, those 2 lanes, people drift out of their lane all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've been forced to move to the right because somebody's not paying attention. And it's only one lane, that's going to be eliminated. That's I do want to just, I think I know the answer to this, but can you just confirm that the work you're doing is going to be within the current paved areas of the Pike and you're not going to expand?
That is correct.
Okay, good, thank you. And the other thing, I was looking at some of this online and I noticed that in terms of the pictures, you had some signage that had the sharrows, you know, the bicycle, the chevron, the bicycles to give drivers information that bikes can be there. Is that going to be part of this plan?
I think it's really up to the township. Those are kind of things where we have those details we need to work out.
I will say that I've been riding that bike on my bike for 25 years. And there's a lot of people on that bicycle. And the only way it's safe for me to be on that bike is to take the lane. And I will tell you one thing, when I take the lane, everybody slows down. Because the traffic is in one lane. And most people so far, I haven't discovered anybody who's willing to come up and just that's the only way to do it, because
Yeah.
if you don't put those sharrows in, people are still gonna be on the bike, And cars are gonna think that they can swing between that yellow line and a bicycle.
Yeah.
It's not physically possible. So I would strongly recommend and encourage you to make sure that those areas are there. If they have them on this, they can have them. They need to be replaced, because they're old and worn out. But it tells drivers that, yes, bikes can be here. This is not just parking. You said earlier, this is supposed to be multimodal. Bikes are part of it. So I would encourage you to make sure that is part of it.
Well, like Nick said,
I just wanted to add, one of the things we didn't talk about is currently there isn't much shoulder width from the outside lane. So having the road dot, we're increasing the shoulder length where we can. I mean, Brian, you just zoom in right there. You can see the black line. You can see where the sidewalk is on the south side. Let's say right there. That's where the curb is. And now this is that's going to be the right side of the northbound lane. So you're going to have a wider shoulder. And currently you don't have a shoulder.
Right, but the shoulder is not maintained, the street sweepers and everything else, it's filled with gravel and sticks and trash. And you have to ride in the traffic. When you get up into the flower town, properly with the parking on the side, you gotta have for the bike to be to the left of those cars, and be able to move out of the way when somebody opens their door without looking. And all of that's gonna be going on, and we need to acknowledge that and accept that, and make sure the signage is there so the drivers know that this is not just a driving road. This is a community road with pedestrians and cyclists and the like.
that's exactly what the road diet is all about, using all modes of transportation. Once again, we have a certain amount width road, and working within those parameters, it was parking or bike lane. And so,
And the benefit of a Cheryl is it's not a separate bike.
understood. Right, what we wouldn't want to do is where we have shoulder, we wouldn't want to encourage we would want that biker to have that choice. And they do, right? I mean, you're a biker, so you understand. But in Pennsylvania, it's a law that you can be in the lane of traffic.
It's
So,
law.
right,
People don't know.
right. No, understood.
Hi, I just have two questions. One, there were a number of comments made about buses, and this road carries a couple of bus lines, active bus lines. So it doesn't sound as if there's going to be any kind of a pull-off or protected bus stop area. And so does that mean that when the bus stops, all the traffic on that lane stops also?
So, we have been working with SEPTA when this project first got awarded. SEPTA is aware of this project. SEPTA is in support of this project. We will work with SEPTA. They're going to look at their ridership, as we've done in other municipalities. They've looked at adjusting locations where their bus stops make sense now that the road diet's there. So we'll be still working with them.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that in this 2-mile stretch, for which, you've given testimony that you have 14, 15,000 cars, a day traveling, and now on 4 lanes are now going to be down to 2 lanes. And did you say that the bus lane is not gonna be separate, and, you know, when the bus stops, the lane stops. I mean, you probably have some 40 feeder roads to lead into this major arterial roadway. I mean, I guess, you know, it's so busy during rush hour anyway. How can we be assured that it's just not gonna be choked, and the people trying, and the feeder roads that are not, you know, signalized have any chance of getting out of their roads? And how is that, how are we gonna address that? What driveway?
Yeah. No, like I said, you know, SEPTA's aware of this project, and I think we're gonna, you know, we have areas, we have wider shoulders. So,
We're still working through that. We have some SEPTA representatives here tonight, and we're going to look at locations that we have that room. We'll obviously provide that.
That would be important.
Depending on,
Try and stop traffic.
once again, the parking or certain things have to give for, you know, to meet every location. SEPTA is looking at the ridership and whether they can, you know, consolidate. And then, you know, once we get to that point, then we can.
Okay, but how about the concept of people trying to get out of their driveway or their street that is not signalized?
Right.
And now we have this, you know, rush hour, which is gonna have to be like a steady flow of traffic, one lane in each direction, isn't it?
Yes, so the simulation that they run shows that.
yeah, like I said, yes, I mean, that's key. The lights, as you notice, part of the project is we're doing interconnect coordination. So we're gonna have better gaps. That's, you know, you have to coordinate the lights. So that's one reason we're getting efficiency as well as creating gaps. So, and obviously when you're turning, you do have a center turn lane. Currently, when you're making a left turn out of your driveway or at an unsignalized intersection, you know, you're looking at passing 3 lanes of traffic, you know. So now you're gonna be creating a 2-stage left turn.
So you can actually pull into that center left turn lane. If you're pulling out on Hillcrest, and you can pull out into the center turn lane, wait for that traffic going northbound to pass, and then pull into the lane. So.
Since you want this out to bid in like 2 to 2.5 months, how can we be sure that if SEPTA doesn't modify anything, that the project won't go ahead and put something? I'm curious, what do you guys think could happen to this project that would make it totally untenable? I mean, you heard some people say that your problems, and one of my is about the bus, that if a bus stops, the entire lane will stop and people will shoot around and it will lead to other problems. SEPTA's not here tonight. We have once we went this out to bid. SEPTA doesn't modify anything. Will that stop the project temporarily?
No. So the thing that SEPTA will do, SEPTA is working with us, and we're going to work with them. That's what we do. And we find a happy median somewhere that we don't have to stop traffic to have a bus pull over. If it'll stop the design in the process. It'll stop the design until we come up with whatever design it would be.
Having buses stop in the.
No, I'm not agreeing with that. No, not at all. Yes.
So I just want to speak to that as well, because again, I'm going to go back to my experience on Stanton Avenue. I don't know what the traffic load is on Stanton Avenue, but I know that it's pretty close to that line. There's a lot of traffic on Stanton Avenue. It's one lane in each direction. There's no buses on Stanton Avenue, and I don't like it caught behind them any more than anyone else. But what happens is when you get caught behind a bus on Stanton Avenue, there's enough space. You can pass that bus. You have to pay attention, and people pass the bus. People are not getting in accidents left and right passing the bus. The biggest problem is people who are trying to squeeze around the buses, the bus is pulling out. That's more of a problem, but the problem is not the buses stopping. It's easy to get around it. You've got a center turn lane, you can just use the center turn lane and go around the bus. And I don't really see an issue with traffic. I don't think that's illegal. I don't think that
It's not illegal. It's not a double yellow.
I guess just to follow up on the bus, but the bus route, remind me, other than Montgomery up to Abraham, is there other bus routes going down that? There's a bus stop that's close to Montgomery. On board, yeah, board, right. The bus stop. Okay, I was just trying to understand the extent of that.
I just wanted to address one thing that we talked about outside. I asked you how much the project would cost. And you gave a number of like $5 million. But then you said that you were getting funding for it. So as a business owner, I'm wondering what part of that are we gonna have to absorb? And are there gonna be parking meters? Are we gonna get or anything like that?
The township does not have to pay for this project at all. The meter parking or whatever the parking, we are not responsible. That's the township that makes that decision.
We're gonna be responsible
How
for
about
that.
Eagle,
Will our taxes go up because of
Chesney?
the project that you're saying is gonna cost $5 million?
Jones.
No, the project's being funded 100% by PennDOT, 100% by PennDOT. And there's federal government. Yeah, so the money's coming from the feds through PennDOT. They're paying for it. There's no money out of the township's pocket for this.
How many did you come up with? Brian's gonna tell you how many bus stops there are.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Okay.
6,
7.
7.
While we're looking at the number of bus stops, just for information purpose, we do have comment forms there. If anybody, I know it's, the meeting's about to end soon, so if there's questions that you wanted to answer and not in public, you can fill out the forms, but it's all right. You can go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Here.
Try that. Battery's only lasts so long.
Well, so thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being obvious. I'm Napoleon Nelson, the state representative. Thank you, PennDOT, for coming. All. Just context. One, this has been great work. This is kind of getting to a culminating point from what has been, obviously, as was mentioned, decades worth of work. And so this is phenomenal. From more context, right? So major one-lane thoroughfares like Easton Road is a one-lane road, Germantown Avenue, Germantown Pike through Plymouth is kind of a one lane. So it's going to feel different. It's going to be a little bit different, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be a bad thing. SEPTA will continue to work with us, and I will continue to work with SEPTA to make sure that they're fully engaged in this project. Most importantly is please make sure that you guys and your neighbor are also fully engaged in this project. You guys are blessed. I'm from Cheltenham. You all are blessed with a wonderful township administration, great commissioners. They're listening. They've been working on this for some time, and we're here to this point, which is great. We're here to this point now, in part actually after making sure that we get much of the stormwater issues also addressed, resolved, hopefully. So this is part of a process. I'm a Sixers fan, to some degree will trust the process, but please do always continue to provide us that feedback. There are, again, comment cards. I've left my business card. If there's anything else that you need, please do not hesitate to reach out. To the township staff, thank you guys so much also. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. That concludes the meeting.